I think it's important that everybody watch this video. I hate it when like my necklace is jacked up the whole time or something, and then it drives me crazy. Or my hair. Hey y'all, welcome back to Katie on the Flip Side. Today I'm gonna talk to you about a little bit more of a serious topic. Before you click away, you may be thinking, I'm not pregnant, I don't have a new baby, I don't plan on getting pregnant in the like immediate future. But this is important to hear. This is important for everybody to hear. I feel like if you know anybody who might have a baby, who is pregnant, who has a baby, or you yourself plan to have a baby at some point, this is important to hear because hearing it now may make a difference in the future. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and my experience with those things. I made a video about this. I filmed a video about this last summer, and I just kept telling Cullen I'm just not ready to post it yet. And then I ended up deleting all the footage because I just wasn't comfortable sharing. But now I'm ready to talk about it. I think it's very important for everybody to hear. Let's just go ahead and get this out of the gate before we get started. Postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety do not happen because of something you did or something you didn't do as a mother. That is not the case. Second of all, it does not discriminate. It affects people of all races, all ages, all socioeconomic levels, people that have tons of support, people that don't have any support, single moms, married moms, any of the above. It can affect anybody. Statistics from the National Institute of Mental Health actually say that postpartum depression or anxiety actually happens in around 15% of moms after giving birth. I just feel like that number's a little bit low. I feel like it happens more often than that. I could be wrong. After you give birth, the hormone levels in your body drop really quickly, change really quickly, things happen, and that can cause some chemical changes in your brain, and it can cause mood swings and all different kinds of emotions and feelings, and that's just what happens. It's what happens after you give birth. For some people, it is just there can be a couple of weeks after giving birth where you're a little sad, you cry more than usual. Baby blues is the term that's used, and a lot of times it just kind of resolves itself and it's not really that big of a deal a week or so, 2 weeks in. For other people, it turns into a more serious and more extreme variation in emotions, difference in feelings and ways that you're handling things, and can actually cause you to be unable to care for your child the way you should, or care for your significant other, whoever else is in your household, and care for yourself. And that's when it kind of gets scary and gets to the point where you realize, okay, this isn't just some baby blues. It's gone on for maybe a month or so, and you say to yourself, I'm just not myself. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I don't feel like myself. After giving birth, I will say you aren't gonna feel like yourself in general. But this is a completely different feeling of not feeling yourself. It's something I didn't experience with gains at all. When I had my first child, I had several friends ask me, are you having any problems with your mood or like depression or feeling sad? And I was like, no, I mean, no. Like I didn't even really question it. I was like, no, I feel fine. Like everything's good. You know, you don't feel like yourself as far as you just had a baby and things have changed, but it wasn't, I was like, I'm happy. Everything's good. After having Brooks, my second child, it was a totally different feeling. One of the hesitations, let me just say, that has made me hesitant about filming this video, posting this video, is I don't want my kids down the road to watch this video and think that any of this has to do with them, my feelings towards them. I don't want them to watch this back and feel like, you know, there was a period of time when I didn't love them, or, you know, that they caused any problems. That's kind of the main reason that I'm hesitant about posting this. I don't want it to be like, oh, well, Gaines thinking, oh, well, I didn't cause mom any problems, but you caused all these problems. So I don't want it to be like that. So let's just get that out of the way. That's not what this is about. And it can vary from pregnancy to pregnancy, and it's just something that happens in your body. Like, it's just how it works. So when you think about these hormone changes, things that are going on in your body, you're also dealing with sleep deprivation. You're dealing with possibly physical discomfort after just having a baby, physical changes in your body. And for me, I realized one of the big things was a feeling of losing control of myself and being able to control what I did and when I was doing things, and kind of losing control of my schedule, I guess. It wasn't so much about not being able to control other people as much as after having a baby, if you're in the middle of doing something that's really important to you, you're in the middle of a phone call or you're in the middle of a serious conversation with somebody and the baby needs something, you gotta go, you gotta feed the baby right then, you gotta change the baby, you gotta whatever it may be. And I think it's hard when you've been used to having a life where you can schedule things, you can plan things, you can, you know, kind of go on a certain routine, and then your whole routine gets flipped upside down. You're just kind of at the mercy of this baby making your own schedule in your own life. That's a hard thing to deal with on top of everything else. I think when a lot of people think about depression, postpartum depression, they think about just sitting there and crying all the time, feeling sad. And I wasn't necessarily sitting around just wanting to cry about everything, although that can be a symptom. What made me realize something wasn't right is, like I said, I just didn't feel like myself, but mainly it was like a loss of interest, not just in activities or things I enjoyed, but kind of in, I guess, being the caregiver. That's always been something I've loved to do. Gaines being our first child, I've always enjoyed playing with her, enjoyed doing things. I mean, as any mom, you get tired and you know, you wanna have a break and you don't wanna change diapers and those types of things. But I found myself just feeling like almost just detached from everybody emotionally. And I know that I've always loved playing with her, looked forward to being with her, and I found myself sitting there taking care of Brooks, or, you know, even when they'd both be napping, and I just had this sense of overwhelming like dread of what was gonna happen when they woke up, and what was I gonna do, and how was I gonna take care of them, and just, I don't even know how to explain it without sounding like what I felt like was, I felt like I was a terrible person. I was like, why do I all of a sudden not care? Why do I not want to be the one to go wake them up like I used to want to? Why do I not want to be the one taking her outside to play like I used to, wanting to plan a fun activity? I remember specifically being at a little museum, children's museum that we were at with Cullen, and just watching him play with Gaines and thinking, I'm so glad he's here and is playing with her, because I just don't know that I could do that right now. Like I didn't feel like I could engage and connect with her all of a sudden. And I think it was just that emotional disconnection from other people that kind of made me feel like something was off. I didn't care about anybody. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care if anything got done the way it needed to be done. I didn't care how I looked, how the house looked, now that happens every now and then anyways, but it was just an ongoing thing, and it was just not me. I think another thing for me was the sense of feeling overwhelmed. I would be scared for Cullen to even leave the house and leave me with the two kids, just to run to the grocery store or something for an hour or so, because it was like, well, what do I do if I'm feeding Brooks and Gaines needs something? But they're 22 months apart, so, you know, Gaines wasn't necessarily able to do everything for herself at that point. So, you know, some of it is rational, but some of it is like, I could not handle it. It was an overwhelming sense of like, if she started crying or if he started crying, it was like I just didn't know what to do. I was just overwhelmed by everything. Everything seemed like too much to handle, too much to take control of, and I just felt like I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it alone. I felt like I needed him right there to just be there in case something happened. And I think that's where a little bit of the postpartum anxiety comes in as well, that I didn't really realize was a little bit of a factor too. I've heard so much about postpartum depression, but haven't heard as much about postpartum anxiety. I didn't have the severe anxiety part of it. I know I've heard people talk about having fears of all kinds of different things with their baby. A fear of even being able to carry the baby down the stairs, for fear of falling down the stairs. A fear of not wanting to give the baby a bath without somebody right there because the baby might drown, you know, even though it's just a little baby tub and they're little tiny babies. I did experience some of the anxiety and fear about the baby sleeping and SIDS and not being able to breathe. And with Gaines, I was a lot more obsessive about literally checking the monitor every 10 minutes, making sure that she was breathing. That was really the only thing that I felt like was a big anxiety thing for me with her. So some of the anxiety can get really severe and be debilitating, not being able to leave the house and drive the baby somewhere because, you know, just fears. Like I said, some that are legitimate and then some that go beyond that towards the irrational side. Either way, there are a number of symptoms. You don't have to have exactly this and exactly that, just like I did, to be in this situation. There's a number of different symptoms: feeling, like I said, over anxious, overwhelmed, sad, crying, even like irritable, anger, rage that's unlike anything that's been a part of your life before. Not being able to sleep when the baby's sleeping, wanting to sleep too much, which that's kind of hard to even say when you have a newborn because you're so tired anyway. Doubting your ability to care for the baby, like I mentioned. I think part of what took me a minute to realize it is all I'd ever heard about postpartum depression was that you don't feel like you're emotionally connected with the baby. You don't want to care for the baby. And to me, it was the opposite direction. Those things were happening with my older child and not as much with the baby. It was strange. I think the important thing is being able to recognize that something is off and not being afraid to reach out for help when you need it. That is one of the hardest parts and one of the scariest things to do, because a lot of times if you're already doubting yourself, you feel like admitting this or getting help for this is gonna make you a bad mom, or you aren't a good mother because you're having these feelings. And you know, that's kind of what I struggle with a little bit, was why am I feeling this? I'm obviously a bad mom. I'm a terrible person. Like, something happened when I gave birth and all of a sudden I'm like awful now. I'm not the same person I was before and something is wrong with me. But when you realize you're feeling those things, what helps you to realize that you are a good mom and that you are able to overcome this is being able to admit that you need some help and talk to somebody. I will sit here and say, I would rather you call your doctor and say, hey, something's going on, I'm not feeling right, talk to your doctor, and your doctor's saying, you know, I think you're fine, it's blah, blah, blah. I would rather that happen. What are they gonna say? You're fine? I don't think, though, if you get to the point of needing to call, most of the time, you're gonna need a little bit of help. And there are treatment options out there. I think I was fortunate that in one of our pre-birth classes, actually with Gaines, so this was like 2.5 years before Brooks was even born, the nurses had spent a lot of time talking about postpartum depression in one of the classes and had talked about how even the mother may not recognize the symptoms in herself. And that is where dads, family, friends, grandparents, whoever is really important in noticing if something seems different about the mom, if something seems like, you know, if she does seem to be more defeated and crying more and, you know, maybe even more irritable, more anxious. It's a hard thing to do, to mention that to somebody. It's a hard thing when you feel like somebody's already down to say, hey, are you okay? Like, something's wrong with you. And that's obviously not the best way to handle it. But gently mentioning that to somebody is not hurtful. Even if your friend seems perfectly fine and happy, if you have a friend that's had a baby or a relative, it's important when you go see the baby to not just ask about the baby, but ask about the mom. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How's your mood? I know a lot of people I've heard go through postpartum depression. Have you had any feelings of that? Have you had any anxiety? And I think it seems like a weird question to ask, but if the mom is struggling with that, it will be a relief for somebody to ask that question and for the mom to say, oh, yes, I have. I thought I was the only person that ever experienced this. When you're in a situation like that, you feel alone and you feel like nobody else will understand it. Nobody else has been there. Nobody has done that. And that's just, it's not true. I don't want to say it's a normal thing because you don't want to think of it as normal and it's just going to pass, but it is something that happens to people. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It's not something you did, something you didn't do. You can have all the support in the world. You can have help out the wazoo and still have postpartum depression. You can be a single parent who's struggling with everything on your own and not have postpartum depression. It can affect anybody, and it's not just circumstantial. A lot of times people feel like, well, I have everything. Everything is perfect. Everything is just right in my life. I shouldn't be sad. I shouldn't be depressed. I shouldn't be worried. If you're feeling those feelings, those are your feelings. Don't let anybody diminish the fact that those are your feelings. And that is a big piece of advice that I want to give to other people that aren't the mother. If you're not the mother, if the mother is telling you she has these feelings, she's feeling sad, she's feeling overwhelmed, she doesn't think she can handle it, one of the most important things you can do is not say, you shouldn't feel that way. Why are you feeling that way? You handled this fine with the first child. Why can't you handle it with this child? Just doing that is gonna be more hurtful and harmful than anything. Being a listening ear, even if you can't fix it, even if you don't know what to say, just saying, I'm so sorry you're dealing with that. That sounds really rough, is tremendously helpful. And then maybe making some suggestions of trying to help that person get help. Maybe they don't feel confident enough to call their doctor. Dads, if the mom is expressing these things to you, but is like, no, I don't want to call, they'll think I'm crazy, they'll think something's wrong with me, ask her, do you want me to call your doctor and set up an appointment for you? I'll be glad to do that. I think that can be a big help sometimes. Set up an appointment, say, this is where you need to go, this is when you need to be there, I will take care of the baby, I'll go with you so the baby can be with you, and I'll sit in the waiting room, I'll drive you, whatever needs to happen. Offering that support and encouraging them to get help in a kind and caring way without diminishing those feelings or making the person feel like something is wrong with them for feeling that way is hugely important. Another super helpful thing is offering support, offering to, let me take care of the baby for a while you go take a shower, while you go sleep, while you go do whatever you need to do, whatever it may be. Let me take care of the baby for you. Offering that support is incredibly important. As far as seeking professional help, there are things that can be done to help. Please don't try to just deal with this on your own and expect it to go away and think that just thinking different thoughts or making yourself try to be happy is gonna help. It might. But it's probably not. Left untreated, postpartum depression can be very, very serious. It can lead to extreme mood issues, including thoughts of harming yourself, harming your child. It can end badly. It's incredibly important to get help. I know a lot of people aren't on the side of wanting to treat anything with medication. That's fine. You don't have to do that. Talk about other options with your doctor. Talk about counseling. Talk about whatever it may be. I know when Cullen and I were going through the pre-birth class, the nurse talked to us about how sometimes getting on an antidepressant or some type of medication to help, an anxiety medication, whatever it may be, is sometimes an important piece because it's not that you need that forever. It's something to kind of help reset, if you will, the chemicals in your brain, kind of help get things back to where they need to be. Take it for a few months, get through it, get past it, and then it'll be over. It's not something you have to stay on forever. For me, I believe I took the antidepressant for about 7 months or so, and it was tremendously helpful. I could tell within a week that things felt different about the way that my emotional connection was with my child, with my family. It didn't just stop then. It was a continual process of addressing issues and getting better, and something that went on for a while, but it wasn't something that lasted forever. When you're in it, it feels like it's never gonna change. You're never gonna get better. You're always gonna be this way. And that's why it's important to get help, to see that that's not always how it's gonna be. You're not crazy. Nothing is wrong with you in the long run. You just need to work through the issues that you're having at the moment. Without treatment, it can last for months, years. It can turn into a bigger issue. It's scary to think of somebody going alone at this and not realizing that it's okay to talk about it and it's okay to get help. I'm just such a strong proponent of please get help. If you see a mom who needs help, please get her help. I think it's important that everybody watch this video, not just because it's my video and I think it's great. I think it's important for future moms, current moms, pregnant moms to watch this video. I think it's even more important for dads to watch this video, for grandparents to watch this video, friends, whoever it may be. Send this video to your husband and say, hey, by the way, if this happens to me, this is what you need to look for. Send it to your friends who are pregnant or who have just had babies and say, hey, I heard this girl talking about this. Maybe this is something that you might want to watch. I don't think that I would have been offended if somebody sent me that. You may even say, it doesn't seem to me like you're having any trouble with this, but this girl said to send it to you, so I'm gonna send it to you anyway. So I think awareness and understanding what might be going on, how you can help, what you can do is incredibly important, and realizing it's not forever. It's not gonna last forever this way. Things will get better. Things will get better. You will be yourself again. It may not be tomorrow, it may not be next month, but it will get better. And it's important to understand that and to get some help. I'm very thankful that I got help when I did and was able to work through it and am now feeling like myself again. It has taken a while. Thank you guys so much for watching, for listening. and for sharing this video with your friends. Please feel free to leave me comments below with your personal stories if you've gone through this, or your thoughts or your feelings about it if you've known a friend who's gone through it. It's encouraging for people to read through the comments and see stories of people who've overcome it, people who've gotten past it, and to know that it's something that happens and they're not alone. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for a fun video next week, and I will catch you on the flip side.